All right, everybody, what's good? We're going to talk about drop shipping today. It's literally one of the fastest and one of the best ways to get started with your business. But honestly, not everyone is getting all of the information. You'll hear all the highlights, but you won't hear the truth behind a lot of it. I've been working in drop shipping for quite some time, have a lot of products that I've worked with, a lot of different inventories. And what it comes down to is knowing the market and a few other of the pitfalls that can happen. The honesty of dropshipping. We're going to get to it. All right, what's good, everybody? So frankly, what it comes down to is this is one of the fastest growing methods to get your business started. It's been around for some time. It's been blowing up. And now more people are starting to revisit it with some scrutiny. And frankly, it's not just because of the business itself. It's because they're not getting all the proper info. Dropshipping is a great business model for you to utilize to get started, especially if you're a first-time entrepreneur or a first-time entrepreneur using an online platform. But it's about getting you the right information. So what we're going to go over today is we're going to get into the real deal of dropshipping, all the things that you're not being told, and to let you make a proper informed decision. That's what it comes down to, because the more information you can use on your side puts you in a better position to win. That's what we're all about, putting each other in positions to win. So let's get to it. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the flat out honest world of dropshipping. So dropshipping is actually a fulfillment method, which really means it's a part of technically supply chain, distribution, and really one of the 4 P's of marketing. Now, if you don't know the 4 P's of marketing: price, product, promotion, place, or often called distribution. These are old school terms in marketing, basic foundations of marketing, right? Is to make sure you have these 4 P's established, and they have evolved over the years. But drop shipping actually started as one of those, kind of combining the distribution and the product and the place, trying to get those kind of pieces together and make it a lot easier for any small business or any entrepreneur starting out to work with either a manufacturer or wholesale. So basically the way to look at it is, instead of a store holding on to inventory or a small business owner like yourself holding on to inventory, what you would actually be doing in this case is you would be ordering or working directly with your distributor. Your distributor would then take that product or send that product directly to the customer. You're really eliminating multiple middlemen in this case. And this is why dropshipping is one of the most affordable ways to start a business, which of course is why it became extremely popular to start a business as a dropshipper. So according to BigCommerce, which is one of the largest platforms when it comes to dropshipping in the world, they're one of the leaders, and they haven't gone away since they started. They started out a leader literally from almost day one and have continuously grown. According to them, the drop shipping business model is not a get rich quick model, which I completely agree. Although they also say on their same website, drop shipping is a low risk business model. Gotta be cautious about that. Although the risks are lower in one area, they're actually pretty significant enough. So what is drop shipping? Get back to the core of it, right? So as I said, drop shipping actually removes a couple of the middlemen, right? We're now removing, of course, old-fashioned retail, because technically you are taking the place of the retailer, but you're also eliminating that middleman, which is normally the broker, because typically what you have is a manufacturer, you have a wholesaler, and you are the retailer. And in many cases, you may have an independent broker or an independent buyer working between these, right? Working as an intermediary between these two to ensure that you, as a retailer who probably has never traveled to China, India, Pakistan, Philippines, Malaysia, wherever you're getting your products from, right? You've never worked directly one-on-one with these different manufacturers. And to ensure that you get a good price, the broker's working in there because they have people on the ground, not only where you're located as a retailer, but also with those manufacturers. Now, the reason why drop shipping eliminates a lot of this middle work is because what typically happens is a manufacturer has decided, hey, you know what? We build the product, we make the product, we get the raw material. Why don't we work directly with a group of retailers? We don't care about branding. We don't care about any of that stuff. What we care about is making sure our products are getting out there. And I'll tell you, that's actually how I got my start. I identified an opportunity working with a client where they wanted to have a certain electronic within their locations. And they didn't want to pay the markup that they would see at retail. So what we did is we found dropshippers on, of course, a platform I know you're familiar with, Alibaba. So if you know dropshipping, you know Alibaba, or you know AliExpress. That's my point. Been around for a long time. There's a lot of different businesses, a lot of different branches to it, but Alibaba is the parent company and the true owner of AliExpress. So the way we avoided working with the middleman was, well, we knew of a manufacturer, potentially a really good manufacturer, but we wanted to evaluate and measure them against others. That's why a platform like Alibaba kind of works as that broker, because what they're doing is they're creating a marketplace for these vendors, a marketplace for these manufacturers. Makes it simple. To find the people and the companies that you're looking for. The manufacturer was actually the manufacturer for some major name brand electronics, but they had their own off label or white label or OEM, however you want to call it. There's a couple different terms for it, where they created generic brands, if you will. So that way any brand could be slapped on there that they wanted, because the components that they were using weren't proprietary components. In fact, if they were proprietary components, they were proprietary to the manufacturer, not to the brand. How this works is that they manufacture for some of the biggest brands around the world, but they have a ton of product on hand. Nothing proprietary is used in the generics. So now they can offer them at a lower rate to you. And you, here you go, can offer them at a really reasonable rate to your customers. That's kind of the beauty behind dropshipping, if you will, right? It allows you to penetrate a market, learn about a product and service, and basically build out an entire product line for almost nothing. Almost. So typically the steps go: choose your niche and product, find and evaluate the suppliers, is where a platform like Alibaba will come in here. Start your online store, so build up your platform. Implement payment and shipping. Remember, even though you aren't controlling the shipping, you want to know what's going on with the shipping. Developing your brand and marketing strategy. How will you manage your customer service and your returns? Because not all dropshippers are made the same. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff you aren't learning, a lot of stuff they're not teaching. And then analyzing, optimizing your business, right? Making sure you have these things in place. That way you can measure what's working. Remember, whatever is measured gets managed. And if you ain't managing it, your business is going to fall apart. So all in all, drop shipping is a great business model based on a marketing and distribution model, right? You can build an entire business around it, and it can, once again, save you a lot of time and money. But let's once again make sure we call this out. It's not perfect and it's not completely risk. Lower risk in one area, it just shifted the risk to another one. And that's what we're going to get into now. Basically, all the stuff you're not being told about dropshipping. Because what I just gave you was a good basic fundamental, which you need to know. But now we're going to get into stuff that partly, no, let's change it. No one's telling you, but you need to know this. All right, guys, what's good? So now we're going to get into what I'm going to call this out as the top 10 things no one's telling you. It's basic, to the point, and frankly, a lot of the stuff is, if you know it from the very beginning, your dropshipping experience is actually going to be really, really good. It's going to be really, really, really successful, because you understand the challenges that are going to come your way. So you most likely are either prepared for them before you start, or you just have some contingency plans in place, right? So in case you do get whacked over the head with a fee that you weren't prepared for, oh yeah, those fees. See, you might be like, what do you mean by fees? I thought I was no money down, no money up front, all that good stuff. No. So let's get into the top 10 things that no one's telling you about this dropshipping game, okay? Okay, so I'll call this out right now. A lot of people do mention this. I'm going to call them the thumbnails. Okay, the thumbnails. The thumbnails aren't teaching you a lot of this stuff. And these are the men and women out here who are just giving you all this beauty, glitz, and glamour. Oh my God, I made $500 in 2 minutes, or making $50,000 a week just off of drop shipping. No skills, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to call them thumbnails. Not calling out names. I'm just going to call them the thumbnails. But you know who I'm talking. So with that said, let's get into the 10. And like I said, number one actually is shared quite a bit. Number one is actually shared quite a bit, but unfortunately it's not emphasized enough. And this just like any other business, is critical. In fact, this could make or break any business, no matter what. Lawyer, doctor, architect, painter, dancer, musician, doesn't matter. This is fundamental. Know your market first. If you don't know your market, you don't know your product. You don't know your product, you don't know the strategy behind that product. And yes, I said, many people have taught this. Pretty much all the thumbnails do say this. I will call this out. Pretty much all the thumbnails will harp and will talk about the importance of knowing your market. But here is the problem. They usually don't put enough emphasis on this. Before you even get started, who is your customer? I challenge you with that because the same thing I've done with every single client that's ever want to work on a website, a dropshipping website. The first thing I ask them is, who's your customer? And they'll say, well, people who want to buy t-shirts. Well, that's just about it. People who want to buy a television. That's still just about anybody. We need an actual target audience. You need a market. This is the area that will destroy any business before it gets started, okay? You will spend a lot of money, a lot of energy, a lot of effort, and here's the worst part. You will spend a lot of time that you're never going to get back wasting on a market that isn't even interested in your product. You need to know who that audience is, first and foremost. Number two, no one says this because they want to shoot you this get rich quick scheme stuff, but you have to invest something pretty small, but you do have to invest something. See, number one, you do want, can't stress this enough, you do want your own website. Now, there's some people and there's some platforms out there that say you can drop ship and you have no money down on a website. You don't have to buy a domain, that kind of stuff. No, you want to purchase your domain. You want to purchase a theme, or you want to purchase at least a good package where you can do a lot of good customization on your website to make it look like your own. Remember, your brand is always going to be that thing that people come back for, because at the end of the day, TV is a TV, a cell phone is a cell phone, and a camera is a camera, right? Essentially, it's the same thing. It's the branding, and it's a lot of components behind that that separates everything, right? So you want to make it your own. But here's where that small investment really comes in. You want to buy some of the products. You want to test. I learned it the hard way. My first time with drop shipping, the first company I worked with, I didn't buy any samples, right? They offered samples, and I purchased the sample technically because all I did was pay for the shipping. But I had already started the store up. So people were starting to get interested, and they were looking at products, but then they were noticing some problems. And then I got the samples. See, if I had done this beforehand, they were trying to push more product to me. But I was like, you know what, let's test out, see what they got. Because remember, with drop shipping, you're not taking in inventory. That's one of the beauties, right? You're not holding inventory. You're not holding anything in a warehouse, right? It's going directly to that customer. It's bypassing you in many cases. You want to see that product before it gets to the customer. So you must be ready to invest for that domain. You must be ready to invest for a decent website, a decent plan where you can do a lot of customizations. And then, of course, you want to invest in that product. Better get some of that product. Number three. Okay, I'm going to say it. It's going to hurt. Because this is what everybody tells you. Almost every thumbnail starts off the same way. You want to learn how I made $10,000 with one product in 1 week? No skill? Watch this video. Yeah, you'll never see me saying that shit. Sorry, but you never. And yes, right, I said what I said because I'm in the business world. Sometimes we let some profanity fly. I'm just being real with y'all. It's the real world, y'all. Deal with it. So the fact is, you're not going to get rich very fast. Even if you have a product that is really popular, it's still going to take some time between one algorithm or another. And don't blame it all on the algorithm, but there are some components there where the algorithm will affect you. Lack of SEO, no search engine optimization, that's always going to hurt you. If you're not advertising when you start off, there are a lot of little components that play into you actually having traction. And here's the biggest one, because this is the one I work the most with on clients. If you don't know how to promote and market yourself, don't expect that platform to do it for you. Now, there are some platforms that give you great tips, give you great advice, give you great information, and I will suggest a few of those to you. But you have to be educated and informed which platforms will help you, when they help you, and how much they're going to help you, because they're not all the same. I'm going to burst the bubble. You're not going to get rich quick, and many of you may never get rich. A realistic goal, and this is with anything, you want to have goals, but you also want to make them smart goals. So a realistic goal would be, I want to be able to pay my rent. I want to be able to pay my rent and some small expenses maybe for my dropship. So the way I started out was very realistically, because I was remembering all those case studies in business school that taught us, yeah, when you think really far out there and you don't do any type of planning, any type of preparation, yeah, you're preparing for some issues. I made it realistic. I said, I want to be able to pay my phone bill, and you know what? As long as I can support the hosting of the website, we're good. Because technically those were the two business expenses I had for it. Was the phone for the business and was the website. Of course, took care of that. No time. That allowed me to say, okay, if it's working to where I'm getting enough sales to support these, what's the next goal? And build up into things like your rent, your car payment, or your mortgage, or build off to things like that. Or what I've seen the most successful dropshippers do, and I do mean this is the successful dropshippers that are very realistic about their goals, but they're also making the money. They say, well, I wanted to support some vacations. I want to be able to use it towards a savings account. Now that's a really smooth one, because that can help you reinvest into another business, or just invest into your future to where you can retire early, right? Because you're putting all that extra money that you get from the dropshipping business, you're putting towards your savings, you're putting towards your retirement fund, something like that. Make it a realistic goal. But if you're expecting to have a yacht within a week off of some fidget spinners, it ain't having a player. Number 4, it will not be passive at first. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Dang it, dang. You want it to be so passive to where you basically don't have to work for the rest of your life, where you don't even have to turn on the computer, where you don't even know who the heck is shipping the product. It's just getting done. Bad move. If you don't know who's shipping that product, that means you definitely didn't do number 2. But most importantly, that just means you don't care about the customer, because remember, it's the brand that matters. And the dropshipper is just shipping product. That's all they're doing. And I guarantee you they have at least 1,000 other of yous out there. So if it doesn't work out for you, that's okay. They've got other people they can work it out with. Number 5 is quite possibly my favorite. It's a business, not an investment, or at least not an investment account. You see, what I mean by that is a business means you have to work. You have to put some time, you have to put some energy, you have to put some effort evaluating who those suppliers are, testing out the product. And here is possibly the one thing that will hurt you the most, even if you are testing the product, not getting customer feedback. See, the cool part about dropshipping is, remember, you don't have inventory. And a lot of these agreements, not all, can be cut on and off easily. Or you can stop purchasing one product and purchase another product. Purchase a few products. Give them to your potential customers, or at least people that know the field, right? It could be friends and family, or associates, or your network. Remember, your network is truly your net worth. Great people to bounce ideas off of. Say, hey, you know what? I'm going to start selling these products. What do you think of the quality from this supplier? I would do that with 1 or 2 suppliers. Once again, small investment. Put some money in, put some time in, because I've unfortunately had 2 clients where this happened to them and it was bad. They literally had a ton of product and they ordered product for themselves to sell at different, flea markets, farmers markets, because they had different businesses. The sad part is people weren't filling that product. They got no market research. They based it on reviews from other places. But here's the problem. Those reviews were people in other cities, sometimes other countries. What if your audience doesn't like it? Just because it's popping online doesn't mean I'm going to buy it, right? So do a little market research, goes a long way. But keep in mind, this is a business, so you actively have to work at it. You're going to test, you're going to fail. It won't be passive at first. Remember that. Number 6, just as I said before, just order some samples. Basic samples, but very few people are telling you to do this. Order samples, test out product, and oh yes, please, once again, get the market research. So if you're treating it as a business, know it's going to have an initial investment. It's going to take some time to test out what works and what doesn't work. And then, of course, have those samples. Rock it. Wear it yourself. See how it works. Or use it yourself. There's nothing better than when someone says, well, I'm not just the owner, I'm also a customer. Okay, I think I stole that from somebody and I'm not trying to get sued, so let's hurry up and skip this. Here's the one that most dropshippers are not prepared for. And I say that because I see them in the comments. I've been asked this question and I just heard people just shocked. Some dropshipper suppliers charge you up front. Yeah, even though you're not buying that product and you're not putting it in your house, or you're not putting it in a storage bin, or you're not putting it somewhere just to hold on to, they will actually charge you first. See, some suppliers charge you after the order's been made. This way they can ensure they get paid. Can't blame them. It's a business, right? They're not your friends. It's business. So what will typically happen in this case is you have a product on your website, right? A customer comes and orders that product. Now, if you set it up the right way, like most of the stores that we have and most of the stores that we've always managed, because it is meant to be a little bit more of a passive business, if you will, and you do want to make it as hands-off as possible. What typically will happen is the customer will go to your website, order that product, automate the order, right? The order is automatic. The order is generated from the supplier, and the supplier will charge you the cost, the base cost of the product, right? Not necessarily that retail cost. In fact, they shouldn't be charging that retail cost because it defeats your profit margin. So let's say the product is 20 bucks, okay? But you only pay $5. Now that's a really good markup, a really good profit margin. If that's happening, best to you, man. That's a really good one. You playing around like some retailers. You're looking like a Target now. I like that. Like that in. What's going to happen is the customer is going to order that product. They're going to pay the 20 bucks. You are going to pay $5. Now I know what you might say. Well, yeah, that's nothing right now. But what if you have, and this is where you hear the people crying the most. What if you have a product that has a pretty high cost, like maybe 50 bucks? Yeah, you might have marked it up to $100 to $200, but you got to pay that 50. You got to pay that 100 if it's $200. You didn't think about that? You didn't think about getting charged? Yeah, you got a heck of a wake-up call there, buddy. So the important thing to keep in mind is that you need to read the agreements with all suppliers. And this isn't anything shady. The best company, I do mean this, the best drop shipping and print-on-demand suppliers use this model. Notice I changed that up. I said both of those, print-on-demand and drop shippers, use this business model. And it's a fantastic business model for them, but it's also really good for you because it helps you to ensure that they're going to ship that product because they're going to get that money from you. And they know if they didn't ship it, they can't take that money from you. The best and most trustworthy companies do this. But a lot of drop shippers like yourself maybe don't know this. And a lot of the thumbnails do not tell you this. And I literally am saying the best suppliers that are always getting promoted, a lot of the thumbnails are not telling you about this. Number 8, you may actually get paid monthly, quarterly, biannually. Yep. Some of these guys actually will pay you on a monthly basis when you reach a certain threshold, quarterly or biannually, not necessarily weekly or daily. I've actually had somebody come to me one time. They were like, hey, man, the store, they thought something was really wrong with the store that they had built for them. So they came to me and they were like, hey, can you change it around? Because I'm not getting my payouts. Somebody messed up the payment gateway or something like that. And I'm like, okay, let me check it out. I'm like, everything seems to be fine. I even did a test purchase because the product was really nice. I bought a couple myself. Yeah. No discount though. But you know what happened? Came back and said, hey man, I still didn't get paid. You bought the product and I still didn't get paid. I said, dude, it's because the payout isn't monthly. See, you have to make sure you know what those payouts are. Because you go out there and buy that Lamborghini, but that bill, you have to pay that bill. You have to pay that bill. And you could actually be making the $10,000. You just don't see it yet. So that kind of knocks some people down a notch when they say, oh, I got paid $10,000 a week for my dropshipping store. Really? 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 Make sure you know your agreements and make sure you know what your payout dates are, because some of them are monthly, quarterly, and even biannual. Product availability could change. Product availability changes all the time, especially if we're dealing with a drop shipper that's overseas or really far from you and they're dealing with a lot of customs. Because keep in mind, sometimes they're not dealing with one customs check-in, they're dealing with multiple customs check-in. I was recently on a trip to Panama and actually had shot an episode of the Ambition Show podcast from Panama. And the Panama Canal isn't even operating at 100%, right? Because of different natural causes right now with the drought and whatnot. So it's making it harder for boats to get through. This is on top of things that we're seeing in the Suez Canal and other issues around the world with customs and trading and import-export. So your products might be available one day and not available the next day. And that can happen at a drop of a hat. So you got to be on top of that and watching it and make sure your website is updated. That's why it's good to have an automated website. That's where we'll get into some of the best platforms for it too, because they ensure that happens. And finally, frankly, this could be the area that a lot of people won't encounter, which is good. But as we see more and more companies consolidate and merge, this may become a bigger issue in the future. Sometimes you might not be dealing with directly one supplier, right? There could be suppliers that are posted on marketplaces like AliExpress. Often what you'll see here is that you'll see a platform that has multiple suppliers, and technically you're not working directly with that supplier. You're working with the broker of the supplier. So you may not incur additional fees for this because typically they're charging the manufacturer or the supplier themselves, which is great. What you will encounter potentially is maybe delays, and you might not have direct communication with that supplier if you ever have a customer issue. So you need to make sure in your customer agreement that you are working directly with that supplier, and that supplier is going to help you with customer service issues, whether it be returns, damaged products, or anything. Price changes is a big one too. So make sure you're working directly with your supplier. And that's it. Those are the 10 things that honestly you are not always hearing from these thumbnails out here telling you about, well, you'll make $10,000 in one day selling one product on one platform, and you'll never have to pick up a computer. You don't even know how to type. In fact, you don't even need to know what a computer is. See, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Skills go a long way. Remember, your skills will take you farther. And the more you learn, the more you grow with the business. One of the coolest parts about drop shipping, I'm going to throw this out here for you, is that you will learn about a product, you will learn about an industry, and you will identify maybe there's an opportunity for me to make a brand new product for that industry. This has happened quite often. Or better yet, maybe there's an opportunity for me to bring my own brand and manufacture one of the products, because there's maybe some issues with what people are seeing, or there's opportunities there. This is a great way to do market testing at a really low investment, but you still have to invest. Number one, your time, and you do have to put some money in. Never going to steer you wrong with that one. I'm not going to tell you anything other than what it is, because frankly, I've helped too many people fix their dropshipping stores to where, yeah, brother, kind of stressed. So with that, when we come back, we're going to go over taking those 10 and making the best practices for starting your next dropshipping business or your first dropshipping business. When we come back. Okay, everybody, so now let's get into the best practices for starting your dropshipping business or revamping your dropshipping business. Because once again, just because you started out and you may have struggled or you may have encountered some of these problems that I brought up earlier, doesn't mean you can't revamp things. The cool part about being an entrepreneur and being a startup, what a lot of people fail to understand, and this is why going to a good network group of startups or entrepreneurs or even an incubator, if you will, is they will tell you about all those pitfalls and all those learning opportunities. But the main thing you learn from going to those programs is that you don't start out perfect, right? It's a learning process. And if you're not prepared for that learning process, then that means you might not be ready to be an entrepreneur just yet, or you just didn't give a realistic view of everything. So we're going to go into the best practices, starting with this. Use a platform designed for drop shipping. Now, the reason why is because there's a lot of components and a lot of tools there. I brought up about automations. Some of these automations you can set up on your own, but frankly, a lot of us don't have the time to do this. When I was starting out, keep in mind, I was coming from the perspective of already being a web designer. I was coming from the perspective of already understanding some real basics of SEO and, of course, social media marketing and social media advertising. So I was bringing a lot of those things to the table already, even though I didn't understand a lot about the business model itself. I understood, number one, the industry I was going to go into, as well as the technical side of a lot of the components. There's a lot of things there that you may not know off the bat and can be really critical that really determine if your business is going to be a success or not. This goes into the research that you need to start from day one. Okay, so a great platform right off the bat, I brought it up earlier, was BigCommerce. Now, BigCommerce works with the biggest, web platform in the world, right? Website builder and content management system in the world, WordPress. So if you're used to a WordPress website, or you have a WordPress website maybe for your blog, integrating is pretty easy. My personal favorite when it comes to using a platform for dropshipping is Shopify. And I like Shopify for multiple reasons, but here's the number one reason why I like Shopify for dropshipping especially, because Shopify is designed as a full-blown e-commerce flagship platform. You can work your entire, and I do mean your entire e-commerce empire from your Shopify platform website. The best part about that is that all the tools you need literally to get started, to scale up, even scale down. Remember, if you're coming back into this and you're like, hey, man, I need to change some things around, they're integrated and they're right there for you. And there's a huge library of apps and plugins that you can utilize to get the most out of your website as you bring on more staff members, maybe as you bring out your product mix. One of the things that I hear a lot from the thumbnails that is legit, can't go wrong with it, is a one product store. Starting off with a one product store is a great thing to do, which goes into the next best practice. And one of the best ways to leverage Shopify is to have either one product store, but I would like to take it to a 3-product store. The reason why is you can really change it up and you can see what works for your business. You have to test everything. And frankly, that means some things are going to work and some things aren't going to work. You've heard the term cash cow, right? Now, I've used an old school marketing principle, which are the 4 Ps. Here's another one. You always have the cash cow, kind of the dog, the star, and the one that's kind of just keeping things going. Usually with your products, you'll have these three areas, right? And maybe that fourth one too. It's kind of like, you don't know what to do. It's kind of like average. But really, you want the cash cow, right? Well, there's no way to determine a cash cow if you only have one product. Maybe you have variations of the same product. One of the first things we did when we started our first dropshipping store, which was a fashion line, we made outfits. So the main product was going to be jeans, denim. We're like, well, what goes well with it? Go with some t-shirts, of course, always a nice tee. Now, how about different types of t-shirts or different type of tops to put with the jeans? And that's what we determined what would work best long-term for that business. What I would suggest you do is if you are going to start off with a Shopify store and you do have plenty of templates to choose from with these one product templates, they're fantastic one product templates that are out there. Change it up and see what small catalog templates there are. That's one of the reasons why I like Shopify the most, is because they literally have templates designed for a large catalog, smaller catalog, strictly digital products, all physical products, and built-in integrations right then, ready to go with some of the biggest suppliers in dropshipping. The next best practice, brought up a little bit earlier, and this is one of those areas where I talk about making an investment. Purchase your domain. I don't care what anyone says, okay? And I'll argue it till the cows come home, as the old school saying goes. Always buy your domain. Always. Don't worry about a free website. I'll put it to you like this. If you can't put 10, maybe 15 bucks, in some cases a couple of dollars, maybe 2 or 3 bucks into purchasing a domain name, maybe you aren't ready to run that business just yet. Instead, incorporate. Get your LLC. Get all that taken care of. Start up the bank account and put money away into a bank savings account for your business. Put yourself in a position to win. Your domain name is an investment. Your domain name is an asset. Think about it this way. If your brand blows up, right, and you don't own your domain name, now, I'm going to be real with y'all. Every business owner, more importantly, every creator, every artist is always afraid of somebody stealing their idea or stealing something. But when it comes to having a domain name, okay, this is one of those things that, although not stolen from you, one of the worst feelings is if you see that domain name out there for a business that's doing something completely different from what you do. I am speaking from experience, and you know who you are. You know who you are. You know. And they're not even doing anything close to what the name really represents, at least in your mind, right? So this would give you the opportunity to have an actual element, an actual asset to your business. And I do mean that. There are people who are willing to spend tens, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars for the right domain name for their business. It happens all the time. So invest in your business, invest in yourself, purchase that domain name right away. And that way you can easily use it on your Shopify site. I brought up once and I'll bring it up again, a small product offering. So 1 product, 2 products, but really 3 is that sweet spot, because then you'll see which one performs the best out of the 3, which one really needs a lot of work, and which one you should just get rid of completely. And maybe that's 2 products. Sadly, I've never seen this, but it could be all 3 products. I've always seen it where at least one is shining as a shining star and is doing great. And then the others are kind of like you got to work on maybe, and you're thinking, you know what, one's taking me out of my realm of my core expertise, and maybe that's why it's struggling the most. And that's the best part about it. You'll identify those types of things real quickly. Finally, I brought it up a couple times actually, but Start an LLC, start your business, get the company going. Look at it this way. The best thing about dropshipping, like I said, it's a low investment, not free. It's a low investment to get a business started to see if you're truly ready for this entrepreneur thing. You could start out just simply as a sole proprietor, test out a few things, see how things go. Maybe for 6 months, maybe even for a year. And if it's working out, then take the next step. Get fully incorporated and move forward. Or change up the name. The cool part about an LLC is you can change some things up, right? You can have a DBA, you can have an incorporation, you can change up if you start out smart and you really do your research. My suggestion is to always, if you can, identify a lawyer quickly that you can work with. That way you make some sound decisions going forward, especially if you're going to change up the business going forward, right? I am not a lawyer, not giving you legal advice. I'm just saying from experience what has worked for me and what has worked for countless clients that I've worked with. But everyone's situation is different, so I do not want to steer you the wrong way. Take the time to do your research and identify which business structure works best for you. And if you can, grab hold, work with a lawyer, and if you really can find a good CPA, that would be awesome, because then you have your team, and that's the team that you need for that back office. But getting started, look into starting as an LLC and working under that, because this is going to be your business. You need to take it seriously. If you want people to take your business seriously, you got to take yourself seriously. And that's it. Those are the best practices, kind of based on those 10 things you're not being told, right? Okay. And one thing I alluded to, and why you should have that business account, remember, because if you're going to get charged for some of those products, right? If you are working with a supplier like that, that should be coming out of your business account, not your personal account, right? It's some real basic stuff that a lot of us should know by now if we really want to be entrepreneurs and want to be small business owners, but not enough of the thumbnails are telling us all this, right? So with that, those are the best practices. I gave you the 10. Now, I end every episode with 2 key things. I give you a book of the episode or what to read. And then, of course, I give you some freebies, because I wouldn't be doing my job. I wouldn't do it now. Making sure that you're being in positions to win. Giving you the tools, up to you to use them, right? That's how I always looked at it. Giving you the tools, it's up to you to use them. So let's get into the book of the week, which actually isn't the book of the week. I'm going to give you some resources. If you are watching these thumbnails, let's get away from those thumbnails. Let's go to some really good resources right here where you would be grabbing any other YouTube video, right? And check out these great resources for dropshipping and the platforms that I suggest. Okay, the first channel I would suggest you go to is a really cool one. Learn with Shopify. Now, I like Learn with Shopify because I actually direct a lot of clients to Learn with Shopify. It's a great channel to understand the basics of the platform. But here's the cool part about Learn with Shopify. The tutorials are pretty good. For a YouTube channel that's giving you like 20-minute videos, 10-minute videos, even 5-minute videos, I must admit, it's like sitting down working with a client here and there. So I would suggest Learn with Shopify, especially if you don't know much about Shopify, you don't know much about dropshipping. Next channel is Shopify Success. Shopify Success, I have been watching for quite some time, actually. And so the cool part about the channel is that not only are there some really great tutorials, a lot of the things they talk about, a lot of the topics they cover, real world things that you will encounter as a Shopify website owner, and of course as a dropshipper. Check them out. It's a really great channel. Final channel is, I like the name, honestly, and I'm going to get into something. My wife quit her job. I'm going to say it again. My wife quit her job. Not my wife. That's the name of the channel. Now, I'm bringing this up because this illustrates really good YouTube tagging. And I can tell you right now, a lot of different platforms, and I'm gonna be real, the platforms, not like a user, not like myself, a consultant or a designer or something like that. The actual platforms have channels and they have horrible YouTube tagging. In some cases, they'll have horrible search engine optimization. This guy, very good tagging. Because you know what? Every time I put anything about drop shipping, about Shopify, about drop shipping, about supply chain, he comes up. He comes up, which is smart. The guy knows what he's doing. And his channel, he definitely knows what he's doing. This is such a real world account about being a successful drop shipper and just being legit and real about what you talk about. I recommend the channel because I've learned a lot from his channel. And like I said, wasn't coming at it from the very beginning, coming from a world of supply chain or distribution or drop shipping. I knew about what I wanted to work in. I knew about how I wanted to help some clients. And I was like, okay, I'm going to research. This is how I am with my clients. Like, if there's a topic that they need me to learn about, I'm going to learn everything I can about it and probably end up with a freaking certification. Yeah, Larnell, I got my certification. So that's the point. You want to learn from people who are experiencing the things that you are really experiencing and not making this stuff up, not just another thumbnail. And there's no reason why this guy's channel having to deal with dropshipping, Shopify, e-commerce pops up based on the name of the channel, right? Well, that shows you somebody knows what they're doing behind the scenes, and this guy's running his own channel. You can learn a lot because the things that he's experienced are the things you will experience. And I can tell you right now, it's not going to be an easy road, but if you really want to stick with this, not just being a dropshipper in general, I'm talking about an entrepreneur overall. This is really in you. This is what you're about. You got to get real about it. You got to be honest about it. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be perfect. There's going to be challenges, but it's people like this gentleman and myself who've experienced it. We're happy to share, our experiences and help you out along the way if we can. So those are the 3 channels that I suggest because you clearly like listening. You clearly like watching, right? Different things about dropshipping, Shopify, WordPress. This is clearly something you're interested in. This is the way you like to consume information. So why not see you there? Now, I would like to give you a couple books to check out about dropshipping, but I think these would be the best place to start first. Let's get those channels out of the way. Let's check them out, and you let me know what you think. And in fact, I'm going to pose you guys with a challenge with this one. If there is a book that you like about dropshipping or e-commerce, right? We can talk about e-commerce, of course, because this is a key business model that is blowing up in the e-commerce world. It's not going anywhere, y'all. Don't let nobody scare you. It's not going anywhere. If there is a book about e-commerce or dropshipping specifically that you have read, that you checked out, or you just want to suggest to the group, there you go. Drop it in the comments. Let us know, and I will see about making it a book of the episode, because frankly, we're getting a lot of books. If you ever checked us out on our core spaces, there's a lot of book recommendations, and I'm going to start putting some of the book breakdowns, the bigger, the longer book breakdowns. I kind of just hit top of mind and key components in the episodes, but in our core spaces, I'm going to start giving full book breakdowns. So if you have some suggestions, boom, lay them here, and I will check out that book and give a full breakdown there, and then who knows, make a whole video for it. So with that, what do I owe you? Got a couple for you. Number one of the best places to purchase your domain, always secure, always the brand that I recommend clients to, that I've been using for years, and that is Ionis. One-in-one Ionis is one of the best platforms to purchase your domain. There's a link in the description of this episode. And then to help you with your dropshipping business or your e-commerce business in general, the best thing about it is this tool that we created can be used for either. This is a product inventory workbook. So this is a great way for you to keep those things organized for yourself outside of your platform. The reason why this is a great tool is because this is an easy upload into Shopify or an easy upload as a CSV file into other platforms. But we designed it specifically for Shopify because we knew there's so many Shopify users out there. And of course, like I said, I had a lot of clients from Shopify, of course. So I wanted to make sure that it was perfect and ready to use for you guys, but it's easily customizable to any store that you have. So whether you're selling apparel, electronics, house goods, doesn't matter. You can use this to keep track of your inventory. Remember, what gets measured gets managed, and you want to make sure as a business owner you are managing your business properly. You need to be tracking that inventory. Even though you don't see that inventory physically, you do sell it and you're getting it out there. You want to know how many units you're selling and which is not working. This is a great tool to use for that 3-product test that I was talking about. So with that, y'all, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of The Ambition Show. I've been your host, Aaron Muhammad. And I am probably about to go get another certification in something because, well, new client, new industry, gotta learn it. Yeah, with that, thank you once again, guys. Best to you and yours. See you in the next episode. Peace. This looks freaking delicious. My man's over there. Look at he's doing his art. Look this up. And try it out.